Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's program introduction webinar for the Launching Data Analytics Bootcamp. My name is Jeremy Clopton, a director here at Upstream Academy. Excited to have all of you on the line today. I know I've talked with quite a few of you about this program in the past, and some of you I haven't. So if I've not talked to you, welcome. Look forward to talking to you a little bit about this boot camp and giving you an overview as to what it is, what we're looking to accomplish, how the boot camp is structured, and answer any and all questions that you have about this boot camp. I know that I've talked with quite a few folks over the last few weeks alone about some questions that they have. So what I'll mention right out of the gate is if you have any questions, anything I can clarify, even if you think I might talk about it in this session, if you'll go ahead and start sending those questions in through the question and answer panel on the GoToWebinar toolbar or the chat window, either way is fine. If you will start to send those in, I want to make sure that we have all of those accumulated and in one spot and ready to go to make sure that we get all of those answered by the end of this webinar. It's not done for CPE credit. This webinar is not CPE eligible, so we have some flexibility. I can spend as much time answering questions as you'd like, either during or after the webinar. I just really want to make sure you have the information that you need to feel comfortable as you move forward after this and making your decision as to whether or not you'd like to attend the boot camp. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to hit why we're even talking about data analytics, why this is so important, the benefits of our program, and then specifically the components of our program. And then again, question and answers. I have it at the end. I'm happy to answer any and all questions as we go throughout when they're relevant, what we're talking about. Right out of the gate, one of the things that I'll tell you is I have talked with a lot of firms about what analytics is. I've talked with leaders at high-performing firms, and there is still so much curiosity and interest and so many questions about what exactly analytics is and how it's going to impact our profession. And I know some people look at that and they think, oh, that's really a bad thing that we're still having those conversations. From my viewpoint, I think it's a great thing that we're still having the conversation. What is analytics? Let's get a full understanding of this and start to understand how it's going to impact our profession. I think that we all agree, we know that technology and analytics will have an impact on our profession. We're trying to figure out exactly what it's going to do and where it's going to happen. I think that it can really have an impact just about anywhere, whether it's audit, tax, consulting, wealth management, practice management, business development for our firms, just managing our own firms, client accounting services. There are so many different areas that we could talk about how analytics can impact our profession. I think each and every one of those has the opportunity, and I'm not going to go out there and say to be disrupted, so to speak, but I do think that there is a lot of opportunity to enhance the services that we offer to our clients already using analytics. And when I say analytics and how that will impact our profession, I mean a variety of things. It could be basic traditional analytics, all the way through artificial intelligence and the applications of more emerging technologies, and how we can help our clients see their data better, predict, make better decisions, etc. There are so many ways that it can go. Frankly, we could talk about it for a number of days, let alone just a few minutes here. So what I'm going to try to do is guide us a little bit more along the path here. Right out of the gate, I will always tell people analytics is going to impact your firm in the way that you want it and allow it to impact your firm. I know that some firms that I've talked to and some that have attended our boot camp, we've already had 2 sessions so far this summer. Some firms are just looking to apply it from an audit standpoint. I will tell you that's not really the direction where I think you're going to have the most impact and the most successful impact. I do think that there is a lot of opportunity to improve the audit through analytics. That said, I've never heard of a client that's really reached out and said, hey, I'd like to pay you more for the audit just because you're using analytics. So what we'll also focus on, and we'll focus more on in this boot camp, is really how the advisory side of the house can be transformed by using analytics. And that's what most of the firms that have gone through our program so far are doing, is they are looking to offer new advisory services, enhance existing advisory services, and really build their consulting practice into something more, really grow that consulting practice. Some will do both. I will tell you that if you start from the consulting standpoint. You're going to be generating revenue that way, and then you can take what you learn and apply it to the audit side of the house. To me, that seems to be a great way to do it because you're generating ROI before you use the technologies. And then I've also had some firms, we had one in particular that was solely focused on applying analytics from a practice management and business development standpoint for their firm. So they're actually trying to transform how they run the firm through the use of analytics, and found the bootcamp to be very successful there. I think there are a lot of approaches you can take. What I will say is that I personally believe the advisory side is where our biggest opportunity lies. We have lots of opportunity on practice management. We have some opportunity to change the audit. I think what a lot of firms are understanding there is we're a little bit held back at the moment by where the standards are, and the fact that we can't always, that we could actually get too far ahead of the standards with technology, and we don't see a lot of benefit. But the advisory side of the house is wide open for us, and that's where we're going to see, I think, the most impact in most of our firms, followed very closely by the practice management side. One of my favorite quotes, and this is the key to why analytics can do so much, and that is the data is neutral. It's the people using it that have an agenda. And right there, to me, that tells us all of the potential that we have. Essentially what that means is we can do anything that we want to with analytics. We're not going to be held back. We're not going to be kind of tied by, the data can only do a certain thing. We can only use it certain ways. That's not the case at all. The biggest challenge that you're going to face in applying analytics, and again, those that have attended the boot camp, they've echoed this. They've said that that's the number one thing they're trying to figure out is what exactly does analytics mean for your firm? Does it mean that you're going to better serve your healthcare clients by doing claims-related analysis to identify opportunities to save money, to generate more revenue? Is it going to be something where you're advising your clients through better financial transparency? You're already doing the accounting services for them. Now you're providing them more transparency and more insights. So instead of being a bookkeeper, now you're a strategic CFO. You've got to step back and say, what exactly is analytics going to mean for us? And I'll tell you, in part of the program is actually helping you figure out what analytics means for you. That's one of the things that we will do. A lot of firms that I've talked with think that it's harder to find the expertise, the technicians, the software. All of that, in my view, is way easier than figuring out what you're even going to use analytics for to start with. Once you've figured that out, the rest of it is, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it is much more fluid and logical, because once you figure out the problem you're going to solve and what analytics means for your firm, there are so many software solutions out there. There are so many technologically proficient individuals probably already in your firm that you're going to overcome those challenges probably more easily than you are figuring out, okay, exactly what does analytics mean, because there's so much opportunity out there for us. Now, there are some other challenges that are out there. One of the key things is through using analytics, the thing you don't want to do is overwhelm clients with more data. We have to be very intentional when we apply analytics. So one of the approaches that we will take, and even if you don't attend the bootcamp, an approach that I would encourage you to take is first figure out what are the client problems that you are going to solve using analytics. Once you figure out the problem that you're going to solve, you can now start to understand how you're going to offer that as a solution, what software you might need, what technical expertise you might need. Do you need technicians? Do you need somebody with more business acumen? Exactly what do you need? But if you're solving clients' problems, especially your best clients' problems, you're going to strengthen those relationships. And to me, that's one of the biggest opportunities that we have with data analytics. It's an opportunity for us to strengthen the relationships that we already have with our best clients. So let me give you some examples as to client problems that you could solve using analytics. That's one of the more common questions that I get, or what are some client problems that you could solve? One of the most common problems that you could solve using analytics, that as a profession we could solve, is helping our clients better understand their financial information and how their operational decisions tie to their financial information. So what I mean by that, client accounting services seems to be one of the most common areas in accounting firms today. More and more firms I talk to are investing more heavily there. They're offering more of that. And I love that idea because it's truly an advisory area of the firm. The other nice thing about client accounting services is we've got an advisory area of the firm that is by definition an annuity project. It's annuity work. Those clients that are hiring you to do their outsourced accounting or doing their bookkeeping or whatever you want to call it, they likely don't have the financial expertise in-house to do it, which is why they hired you. And by definition, that means they probably also don't have the financial expertise to tie those financial results back to business decisions and back to processes that they change on the operational side of the house. If you can take that information that you get on a weekly, daily, monthly, whatever the right frequency is, however often you get the financial information, once you get that, now you lay some analytics on top of it that are focused on processes and operations and measuring how operational decisions and changes impact the finances. Now you can go back to your client, and instead of saying, here's the financial statements, you can say, here are the financial statements, and oh, by the way, here's some recommendations that we have based on your operations and your processes that will help you make better decisions that will result in better financial performance. That's one example of a problem that you can solve, and that's probably one of the easiest problems out there to solve. Another one that we often see is fraud risk. My background is with a national accounting firm in the forensics practice where I ran the big data and analytics and digital forensics practices for 2 years before I ended up leaving public accounting, and we launched those practices and then led them. And what we found is that fraud risk is a universal risk. Everybody has it. Not everybody is willing to address it, but everybody has it. So it works across all clients, and it's a great conversation. It's a great way to get in the door with clients, and identifying fraud risk is a great application of analytics. One of my favorite areas were purchasing cards. So if you think about it, most companies have a procurement card or a corporate credit card. And what we find is that there are policies and procedures around those cards, and that really defines the risk. Policies and procedures give way to rules, which give way to easy traditional analytics applications, and that's such a great area to help clients solve a problem, which is we have fraud risk that keeps us up at night. May not even be material, but it's one of our biggest concerns. Now we're able to solve that problem for them, give them that peace of mind, and it makes great annuity work. It's leverageable work, so it's highly profitable work, and it's strengthening that relationship. That's just a couple examples of problems that you can solve. The other thing that we have to consider and that we have to overcome a little bit is the fact that an analytics service line is going to have a different business model and a different team than you're going to have for audit or tax. I actually think this challenge is a great opportunity because as we think about how our firms need to progress into the future, this is such a good opportunity to introduce new ideas and new perspectives and new ways to run the business. One of my favorite ways to do that is through the pricing when it comes to analytics. Much of this is going to be leveraged because you're going to be using technology. And Terry, I love your question here. Is there a software program that you see being used more frequently than others for data analytics and AI? And I'll answer that in just a moment. But those technologies, those software solutions, they are going to allow us to leverage what we've done. We're going to be able to automate procedures, which means we're not going to sell our hours anymore. We're going to have value pricing. If the project's worth 10 grand, you're going to price the project at 10 grand. If it takes you 5 or 2 or 3 to 8 to do it, it's really irrelevant other than a profitability standpoint. You want to make sure it doesn't cost you 20. But you're able to start using value pricing and higher realization and leveraged models, and that's a different model than we're used to. It's a great way to get that in. The other thing that we have to consider is our team is going to be one that's likely going to be much more collaborative. You're going to have a mix of business acumen, ability to communicate, ability to do data visualization, the ability to analyze data and think technologically and be technologically proficient. It's rare that you're going to find one person that does it all. You're likely going to have a team approach, a collaborative approach. The great thing there again, this approach may have people that aren't your traditional CPAs on the team, but now they're a resource to the entire firm, and that's both a challenge and an opportunity because now you're managing and leading people that aren't accountants. To the question of software, I don't know that I see a program that is used more often than others. What I find is that most accounting firms from the traditional analytics space are typically using IDEA or ACL. I don't know who is the market leader, so to speak, right now. I can tell you from the firms that have attended our boot camp in the last 2 months, I would say about 2/3 have used IDEA. Just shy of a third have used ACL, and we had one firm that was using Arbutus, which is another competitor in that space. The other programs that a lot of folks are using are a mix of Tableau, Power BI, or Domo, which is another competitor in that same space. From an artificial intelligence standpoint, quite a few of the firms have been testing out solutions like MindBridge. Some are looking into solutions like SAS or Splunk. Outside of that, in my experience, even the open source programming solutions that allow you to build your own machine learning and artificial intelligence models are an option that requires a different skill set. So from the off-the-shelf software standpoint, those would be the ones that we see most often. I don't know that there's a right one or a wrong one. And one of the things that we actually talk about in the boot camp, and I'll mention this again in a moment, is we're not so much focused on buy the technology and then find the solutions it can solve. I'd much rather you figure out what are the problems and the solutions you're going to offer, and then figure out the software that allows you to do that. From that matter, I have seen firms offer spectacular solutions using Microsoft Excel. It's not the best solution, but it is probably the most universal solution, and you can do a lot with it. It's a willingness to figure out what's the right problem and how can we solve it. One of the things that that we often in the advisory side struggle with is, well, is it going to be an annuity model? And I'll tell you that I do think an analytics service can be an annuity model. It has the potential to drive growth and actually transform what we're already offering into an ongoing advisory service. I mentioned that with the client accounting services. Level 1 would be something like we're going to be doing the bookkeeping. Level 2 is bookkeeping with some analytics. Level 3 is strategic CFO services. It allows us to start to add more robust services to our offering, which I think can be very important to us. We have to be intentional about that. We have to approach it that way. We talk strategy around this on the second day of the boot camp. Actually, how are we going to do that? How are we going to price it, market it, message it? Who are we going to talk to, and what are the right clients for this annuity model? One of my favorite quotes, and I heard this last summer at AICPA Engage from Mark Koziel, was, "We as a profession can't wait for regulation to disrupt us. We need to disrupt ourselves." And I really believe that. I think that the challenge that we're seeing is some of the disruption right now is coming on the attest side, where we have standards, and we do have to make sure that we don't get ahead of them. The advisory side provides us the opportunity to kind of get away from the regulation and actually start new business models and new approaches, and that's what we're talking about with this. Some of the big benefits and the why you would want to have data analytics. The big one is the top one up there. It's really organic growth. Analytics services are a great way to tap into your best clients, your A and B level clients that you've already got, really utilize them to be successful, grow more revenue, deepen those relationships, develop those raving fans. And that's such a great benefit of this type of a service line. It can also help in a number of other ways, differentiation and positioning in the market. I heard somebody here recently ask me on LinkedIn when I was posted something about this boot camp, and somebody said, "Oh, I thought all accounting firms have an analytics service line," and no, it's really not the case. Not that many firms do. A lot of firms are still in those early phases, so it can be a really good differentiator and a really good market position type of service for you. The other thing from my vantage point is it can really help create some new career opportunities within the firm, and especially for those individuals that may not be the traditional, I want to go audit or tax route, but they're very technologically proficient and they have that passion. And it's such a great way to let someone maybe younger in their career with that passion and that drive for technology to really take something and run with it and build a whole new service line and revenue line for the firm. And it's a great way to create new career opportunities because they're essentially building it themselves, which I think is wonderful. And then you've obviously got some other benefits. You know, it's going to help clients with their operations. If we apply it internally, it helps us with operations. And we're not waiting for technology to change our industry. We're going out and we're being more proactive. So what are some of the benefits of our program specifically? And we were very intentional about this program when we were thinking about and designing this program. What we found, and this has been my experience for a number of years, that if you go to conferences, you go to programs, there's roundtables, mastermind groups, all these different things. There is an enormous amount of discussion that is very theoretical about what analytics could do. And I'll admit I have given those conference presentations about what it could do. They're very theoretical. It's not actually a how-to, and it's not the here's what you need to actually create and build a service line. It's very much more here are all of the wonderful things you might be able to do at some point. In addition to that, here at Upstream, we've very much been a proponent of exploring new service offerings, new service lines, new partnerships, developing processes. But one of the things that we realized we have not done is we haven't actually put together a program that step by step walks you through how do you actually launch a new service line. Again, we've talked a lot about its importance, the benefits of it, why you should do it, but we've never done the step by step. So that's really where this program comes in. It takes the theoretical discussion around analytics and the benefits of launching a new service line, and it really puts it into a 2.5-day program with some homework in advance where you really are talking about the how to launch a new service line. Now, I'm not going to get technical on the how to use software. We're not doing that. The software companies do that really well. I don't need to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to give you the knowledge, the framework, and the strategy to actually create and execute and implement a brand new service line within your firm. And we are very intentional about how we do this. You've got to work when you're at this boot camp. I will tell you that in advance, there's probably a good 15 hours maybe worth of work. It's going to depend on how much effort you've already put into this. I've talked with some firms that said, you know, we had already done a lot of research, planning, thoughts around launching an analytics service line. It only took us a couple hours to go through and really get all of it on paper. We already had most of it, had some questions. And then we've had some firms that signed up late toward the beginning of the boot camp, and they said, oh my gosh, I didn't have near enough time to go through this, and they had a good 3 weeks. It wasn't that they were working 40 hours a week for 3 weeks to do it, but having those conversations and really thinking through and having the discussions internally around what is the vision, why are we doing it, what are our goals, what are the financial aspects, all of that comes together. So it's very intentional in how we do this, because what this will do is when you leave, you will not only have the framework and the strategy, you're also going to have your initial solutions. You're going to have what you need to go back and actually create and launch this service line within your firm. And we give you a 180-day launch plan at the very end that will get you from the boot camp to actually launching the service line. Now, some firms may do it faster or slower, but we've used 180 days as our goal. So this moves away from the theoretical and it really gets into the application side of things. So here are the program components. And again, if you have additional questions, by all means, please send these in as we go here. I'd love to answer any of them that you have. I will be instructing the boot camp. As I mentioned earlier, I actually helped to build and launch, and then I led for 2 years the big data and analytics practice for a national accounting firm. I was with BKD out of Springfield, Missouri. I've been speaking on this topic for a number of years. I've been speaking on analytics probably for about the last 7 or 8 years. I now speak internationally and nationally for the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners as a faculty member, again on analytics. In that case, the specific application is fraud prevention and detection. But I bring that experience and what I've learned along the ways, and what worked, what didn't work, and try to bring all of that to you to help you get there in a much more streamlined manner than I did. We learned a lot along the way and want to make sure we bring that experience to you. Our goal for this program is simply that once you've completed it, you will have what you need to go launch a successful analytics service line. The one thing that I can't give you is the actual ability to execute. That's the thing that you're going to have to do on your own. But we'll give you the plan and the steps that you need so that you can go back and execute on it and actually launch this service line within your firm. To do this, here are the things that we're going to help you understand. We're going to help you figure out what is required to actually be successful with an analytics service line. We'll talk about what works, what doesn't work, challenges to overcome, pitfalls to avoid, the approaches that typically are more successful. So we'll talk about that. Then we'll help you develop a plan to actually get this analytics service line off the ground, and we will provide you the steps that you need to actually launch it. We will do part of that both before you get to the boot camp. You will have some homework, and then when you get to the boot camp, we will be working hard that entire time. It is not a 2.5-day lecture series, I will tell you that. It is not 2.5 days of lecture. What it is it is a mix of lecture and you working with your firm on your plan. So the seating at this is not mixed up where we have different seating or you're with other people from other firms and your brain. No, what's going to happen is you're going to bring another individual, at least one. So we've got to have at least 2 people from a firm, could be more. You're going to have a table for your firm and you will be working at that table. And as you're working, I'll be doing some lecture. Then as you're working, I'll be coming around answering any questions, helping you overcome any barriers, hurdles, struggles that you're facing. We'll share collectively as a group, so we'll learn from the other firms in the room as well. So that at the end of this, we've answered as many questions as possible and you have the most detailed plan possible to go back and launch this service line within your firm. Now, the program itself, the boot camp, is designed for your launch team. And your launch team, we define that as the group of individuals that are responsible for building and then leading the service line. We require that you have at least 2 individuals come. That's how the pricing is built out, because we don't want one person doing it becoming a silo. You want at least 2 people. Some firms bring 3. We've got a couple at this at the one upcoming in October that we've got firms bringing 4 people. But you want to make sure that the individuals that are responsible for building and leading the service line are the ones that are there. That does not mean that they're the IT expert or the technical expert. There are benefits of bringing a technician because typically they can think a little bit more about what the software could do and how you could apply it. That said, they don't have to be the one that's there. You do need somebody that understands how to run a service line and how to lead a service line within the firm. You will want that person there. Sometimes that's at the partner level, sometimes at a senior manager or a manager level. If you've got a young staff that you're thinking might be the one that leads this and has the passion, I'd encourage you to bring them. We have had individuals attend the boot camp ranging from, I think the youngest had 4 years of experience with the firm. I take that back, 2 years of experience with the firm. And we've had managing partners attend as well. So there's a variety that can attend. It's up to you as to who is going to lead and launch this service line. That's who we would encourage you to attend. They don't have to know how to use the software. That is not the important part. The logistics of this next session. The next session will be held October 14th through 16th in Atlanta, Georgia. The cost for the program is $3,700 for 2 attendees, plus you have to pay your travel expenses, of course, but the registration fee is $3,700. Each additional member that you would like to attend from your firm would be $1,100. If you're an Upstream Academy Network member, there are discounts off of that. That'll be reflected in the registration. We do limit the number of firms that can attend each of our boot camps to 12 firms. That way we have the right number of firms for sharing and to where you have the opportunity for the one-on-one conversations with me at the boot camp. So we limit it to 12. At this point, just before the start of the boot camp, I double check to confirm 8 firms are already registered for the October 2019 session, so we have 4 spots available for firms. That doesn't mean that 8 people, it simply means 4 more firms are able to sign up for the October event. So if you're thinking that you would like to attend the October event, I say that to encourage you to sign up sooner, not later. We only have 4 spots available at this point for October. We've had quite a few registrations just in the last week alone. There is a high likelihood we will do a session in 2020. We do not have any dates or locations or anything set on that yet. That will be dependent on demand for an additional session. So again, October 14th through 16th, I understand that goes across the October 15th deadline. Traditionally, the individuals that attend this aren't busy on tax work because they're normally on the advisory side, so that hasn't been a huge concern. I do understand that in smaller firms that is a possible concern, and we recognize that, but wanted to let you know there are still 4 spots available for firms. Now with that registration, here's what you get. The launch team, and really whoever, it's those individuals that are registered will have access to this. Obviously they can provide it as a resource for the firm. There will be a launching data analytics one-on-one online tutorial that we will provide. That is a video tutorial that will walk you through the Bootcamp Preparation workbook. You will get access to that workbook, and then additionally the 2.5-day Launching Data Analytics Bootcamp. After the bootcamp, we've added this just in the last couple days. The other thing that we will add that's tied to that bootcamp is there will be a private LinkedIn group for all attendees of the October bootcamp to continue sharing and resources and asking questions and successes and failures and struggles and all of that, if you'd like to continue networking with the attendees from your group. So that will be available as well. So that's what you have access to. The Launching Data Analytics 101 online tutorial will help you in defining what analytics mean, where you're initially going to be focused, what your clients' needs are, some of your competitors' differentiators, and help you identify who is your launch team. What roles do they need to fill? If you already know your launch team, you can just have them watch the tutorial and go through the workbook. If you aren't sure, have the partner group or whoever is going to be tasked with identifying the launch team watch this tutorial, and that will help guide you in that way as well. From there, the bootcamp preparation, you will have a workbook that will help walk you through and capture as much of the information as you need. It's really designed, it is your resource. It is designed to help you get the information that you need, all pulled together in one spot so that when we're together in Atlanta, we can work you through that and actually get you that plan that you need and get that defined. So you've got to have a little bit of pre-work in advance. For the bootcamp itself, it's a 2.5-day interactive bootcamp. Again, we're going to do a lot of different things within that. You will define what the services and the solutions you're going to offer are. We'll talk about the technology and how to use it. We will talk about training, marketing, both inside and outside. So internal marketing, outside marketing. We will talk about sustainability and profitability. One thing I would encourage you, whoever's leading this and is going to be on your launch team should have a fairly basic understanding of how profitability works within your firm. It's a useful knowledge to have. Here's the agenda, just to give you a little bit more meat on the bone, so to speak. Day 1 is all about defining the service line. By the end of day 1, you will know, here are the client problems that we're going to solve. Probably 3 to 5 is what most firms are coming up with. 3 to 5 problems you're going to solve, what the solution looks like, how you're going to deliver it, what your differentiators are, why you're going to be able to stand out from your competitors, and how we're going to price it. And we'll talk strategic and value pricing along the way. So you will have the service line defined by the end of day 1. We'll talk challenges, we'll talk barriers, we'll talk what will be required for success. We'll get all of that on day 1. On day 2, we're going to talk about how do we integrate this thing into your service, into your firm. So we'll talk about making it an annuity practice. What are the additional values that are added for the firm? How do we actually make sure that this is sustainable and has longevity and it doesn't die within a year and it's not all tied to one person? We'll talk about finding the right clients for a new service line, and we'll also talk about a methodology and a process for how to implement change, because a new service line is change, and how to get the buy-in to make this a successful change within your firm. And then day 3 wraps up by talking about profitability. We'll talk more technology then. This is our first focused technology discussion. It comes up in other times. And then we conclude the morning going through your first 180 days. Here are the things you need to do, the people you need to talk to, the clients you need to be marketing to, the training that needs to be performed to give you a 180-day launch plan. And then we'll conclude with the golden nuggets, which we conclude almost every Upstream event with. What are the things that were the key takeaways for you that we need to make sure are action items beyond your launch plan for you? So that's what the boot camp looks like. That's the program, the components and everything. What I'd like to do now is just completely open it up. Feel free to chat in, send in through the Q&A panel any questions that you have. I would love to answer those. Anything that you have about the program, I'll stay on here and try to answer those for you. All right, the first question that I see that's come in is how do we register? So if you go to our website, upstreamacademy.com, on the left-hand side, there is a launching data analytics link. If you click on that, you can register directly from there. In addition, Georgia will be emailing you a link after this call that will contain that registration link in it as well. So that will allow you to go ahead and get registered if you'd like to do that. Let's see, another question here. What about software? Do we need to bring anything with us? From a software standpoint, you don't have to have any software before you get to the boot camp. In fact, we will talk about different solutions as we define the service line. And then if there are certain solutions that we talk about that you would like to learn more about, we do have some contacts, some that I've worked with over the years at the various software providers out there. I'm happy to do introductions to help you kind of get to the right person there, but you do not need to have any software. You don't need to have anybody that is IT technical. It is not a requirement to attend this at all. Right, the last question that I'm seeing right now, and Jenny, if you see any others, who's the ideal candidate for the launch team? Yeah, as I think about the launch team, two different types of people really do come to mind. The first, like I said, is somebody that can really lead a service line, somebody that has that ability to lead a service, that does have the ability to really develop business and think big picture. I think that's a great person to have. The other ideal candidate from my mind, and a couple of firms have actually taken this approach, and I think it's been really successful in talking with them after the fact. If you've got a young rising star in your firm that you're looking to really get engaged and they're really technologically proficient and passionate about technology, that's such a great person to bring, because this really gets them engaged in the process early on, and it allows them to see maybe a path forward to building a new career opportunity. So I think that could be a really good ideal candidate. Let's see, does the boot camp qualify for CPE? Yes, it does. The boot camp does qualify for CPE. The natural follow-up question to that's going to be how many hours? And as I think about it, Jenny, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say it's right around somewhere between 16 and 20 hours, I believe, is how many CPE credits it is, because we go 8 to 5 both Monday and Tuesday, Monday and Tuesday, and then we'll go 8 to noon on Wednesday. So it'll be a good 2.5 days. So you do get a decent amount of CPE in addition. In my experience, how quickly after the boot camp do firms obtain their first data analytics client? You know, it's been mixed. We have some firms that have not yet landed an analytics client because they are still really early in the process. I had a couple firms that actually had prospects and clients lined up that they were meeting with the next week, where they were able to get a project just simply based on some of the approaches that we had talked about. So it's gonna depend on how far along in the process the firms are. If your firm has not really contemplated analytics yet, it may take a little bit longer. If you've been thinking about it and this is just kind of solidifying it and putting it into a plan, it can be much quicker. Like I said, the fastest has been the week after. And then we have some that have yet to do that, which makes a lot of sense. Are most firms only using an out-of-the-box system, or others using larger, more extensible services that require SQL experience? I would say that most of the firms that I have worked with through this boot camp are using out-of-the-box systems because they are easier to use, quicker to get up to speed on, and they allow more flexibility in who can work on the projects. A lot of it depends on what client problems you're looking to solve. I know that in the practice that I was leading, a lot of our solutions were out of the box. We had a couple solutions that we started to offer that did require SQL experience. And for that, we were very intentional about making sure that we had the right expertise in-house before we offered those services. So there is a little bit of a mix. Most firms will start with the out-of-the-box solutions where they can get that traction a whole lot quicker. And Jenny, thank you for the update. The total available CPE credits for the boot camp is 22. So there's a possibility of 22 CPE credits, assuming you attend all of the sessions. Are most firms starting out with value pricing services or working up to it over time? With analytics, we are encouraging that they start with value pricing services. Especially with the fact that a lot of leverageable analytics services are going to become more efficient over time. It works really well to use value pricing right out of the gate because what it allows for is a more predictable revenue stream, and knowing that over time, the realization, while it may not be great at the start, is going to get better as they go. So we encourage that you start on this new service with value pricing. The only exception is if you're providing analytics services for litigation support projects for attorneys. Most of the time they will not allow for value pricing. It's going to be by the hour. That's about the only exception. So we encourage, and most firms have decided that we've talked to that have gone through this program are using the value pricing right out of the gate. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in just yet. I'll leave my email address here on the screen, jeremyc@upstreamacademy.com. I am happy to answer any questions that you have. You're welcome to send me an email, give me a call. I'd be happy to talk with you about the boot camp, any questions, additional questions that you have that maybe you didn't want to send through the questions panel. Anything that we can do to help answer your questions about this or help get you started with this, please let me know. I hope that this has been beneficial for you, and I sincerely look forward to seeing all of you that decide to join in Atlanta this October. I think it's going to be an outstanding boot camp. I think it will really help you make a big difference in launching the analytics service line in your firm. With that, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you.